Now in this video I'm going to try to show a way, probably other people have already done this already, but it's something I haven't done yet, and I wanted to show what we learned in the process of installing Glenn's tires on his Ducati. Now what we did is we purposely picked a really hot, steamy day. This day went up into the high 80s, low 90s. And the first thing I did when I woke up in the morning, take the two tires out, put a black mat out and lay the tires on the black mat. The idea is to warm up the tires as warm as possible. And I'll explain one way. If we were doing this in the winter, I would make a little heat box, which I'll explain in a future video, because obviously winter is coming up in this part of the country, and after doing this one time, I will never change a tire any other way. Please watch how this goes together. Now, these are wheels that we painted previously, and what I thought is I better do the front one first, having changed a lot of wheels and a lot of tires. I know the front one usually goes on a lot easier than the back one. Now, we had painted them. I had gotten all the first part was to get all the tape off. Here you can see I'm pulling up the tape. We did this all outside in the shop where it was really hot, in fact. And the whole idea of doing this is, now I know I had painted these wheels for Glenn, and I've painted a lot of other wheels, including the ones on my bikes. And then when you go to put a tire on or take a tire off, and this video is only going to cover tires going on. We're making another video for tires off, and I'm sure it'll be a couple days, but we'll have that up there too. But we had already had these wheels off, otherwise we would have videotaped that also. Now, again, whenever you paint a wheel, what I had always done in the past is right here on the edge where a tire iron would normally be, I try to minimize the amount of paint. Just put the minimum amount and maybe 1 or 2 coats of clear. Then up in this part of the wheel, you can really lay it on and buff it out. But I found in the course of doing this, even that's not necessary anymore. And so I think if you use this technique, I think you're going to be thrilled. You're just not going to believe how good this works. Okay, so in putting the tire valves back on, we got brand new tire valves. I use a drop of blue Loctite. Now, this is one of the things that makes it easier. I don't think it's a thing that's a mandatory thing. I think if we were in the middle of the winter, we could just use a heat gun and warm up the tires. But we started off, the tire was about 127 degrees out in the sun, and it eventually got up to about 140, if I remember right, when we actually went to touch it. And it really was a little uncomfortable to touch it. But now, the trick that made this possible, as opposed to any other methods, is a product you can get at Harbor Freight, of course, Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape is a lot stronger than duct tape. I had tried to do this similar thing with duct tape and it didn't work. The duct tape wasn't strong enough. So what I did, and I put 4 layers of duct tape and squeezed the tire in. And I ripped the duct tape in half, the Gorilla Tape, because you don't even need a whole roll. You can cut it in half and it works. And so I was skeptical. I had done this one off camera and I said, wow, you know, Glenn was here. He had gotten here about this time of the day. And he said, let's make a video. Well, we're going to show that video. You've probably already seen it. It's at the end of the video on the rear tire. But the front one went on so easy. I said, holy mackerel, I couldn't believe it. And absolutely no chips, no mar. Now, when I do a wheel in the future, I'm going to paint the edge just like the rest of the wheel, so it has the normal amount of paint. And this just happened so easy, you can't believe it. Now, of course, this is the first time we've gone through the whole process, so we're learning as we go. Glenn had a couple of ideas we're going to try in the near future, and we'll, of course, share them with everybody on YouTube. Now, what I thought maybe because of getting the Gorilla Tape off, of course, you've got to just slit it with a razor and just pull it off, and it comes right off. See, I thought that might be a problem. Then I thought what might be a problem is maybe I'll have a problem getting the bead to seat because the tire was out in the sun. So it really was no problem at all. I went down, put the compressor on it, lined up the valve with the little, on Michelin tires, this is the light spot. This just blew me away. I said, holy mackerel, this This took a matter of about, I'm going to guess, 5 minutes total. It might be that if you had a tire changing machine, you could do it a little faster. But in the case of if you have $1,000 Marchesini wheels, or you have painted wheels, powder coated wheels, or you just don't want to have a bike with scuffed wheels, this is the way to do it. And spend the extra maybe minute, and maybe it's not an extra minute, maybe you actually can beat the system. So having had the first one done, and Glenn was just flipping out and doing somersaults and whatever, I said, well, you know, don't do somersaults yet, because sometimes doing the back wheel is a lot more difficult. This can tend to be a lot stiffer. But the trick is, and one of the tricks, even if you mount tires on a tire machine, put them out in the sun. But if you can get even better, put them on a black rug, anything black. If you have a black car, put them on the roof of the car. Put anything to get the tire temperature up. Now, I don't think you really need to do that, and we're going to try one cold. And actually, we have a couple of other ideas that I think are going to work even better. I think this is only the first step in coming up with an even better system than what we have. Now, I thought another problem might be maybe we're going to have some issues balancing. None balancing whatsoever. It took the normal amount of time, weight, everything to balance the wheel. And I thought, oh, you know, I was looking for some reason not to do this. And then I said, well, you know, hey, let's face it, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Glenn had to try it. And he was just blown away. I can't even tell you. He was just beside himself for the rest of the day as he worked on the bike. And he did a lot of other cleanup things. And while we had the rotors off and the discs out, he did a lot of cleanup work here. We're polishing the little rivet heads that go in there and for the floating discs. And cleaning up all the bolts, of course, which is when we work in the shop, we try to make everything as neat and clean as possible, even for the point of being a little silly sometimes. But all the people that seem to laugh at us and love rusty bolts and love stripping bolts, well, it's hard to argue with them. Sometimes it's impossible, in fact. Now the moment of truth, I said, oh my God, you know, the back wheel, and I dreaded this because I knew many times that back wheel, it can be a very difficult thing. We had a thing with Joe's MV Agusta that mounting that back wheel was absolutely a nightmare. Now, I don't know, Michelin tires, I only use Michelin tires. I'm prejudiced, I guess. I even have them on my car. But I've kind of become happy with using all Michelin products. You can see on the thing, this tire is now 140. I don't think it really has to be that hot. But again, you could make a box with the foam that has, it's got the silver lining on one side, tape it together the shape of a tire, put a light bulb inside, and just watch when it gets to 140, take it out, just like baking a piece of toast. And when we used to cure carbon fiber parts for the model airplanes, that's exactly what we did. In fact, Midgley had a friend of mine, Dave Midgley, had a dedicated oven, which maybe, you know, we could even use a dedicated oven here. But I don't think you need it. You don't need to make it. Because the thing we don't know is maybe you don't even need to heat the tires as much as we did. Maybe just keeping them in a warm house by a heating vent would be enough. But, you know, the nice thing is everybody that's looked at the video so far, the little video, has poo-pooed it. Because I know the reason. Everybody is thinking, oh, there's a catch. There's a catch. When I go to do this, this is going to happen. When I go to do that, I went through this as skeptical as anybody, especially Luciano. Yeah, how do you do that? How's that going to work? How's that going? I was doing exactly the same thing until I got to the very end, and then I said, oh boy, you know, Glenn, I don't know, this back tire. It took a little bit of effort to get I used 6 bands of tape. But now what we were thinking of doing is eliminating the bands of tape and just using heavy-duty zip ties. Then Glenn had another idea, and we've got several other ideas here, of just using some kind of straps, which I've seen on the internet people use straps. The trouble is I never found straps that really worked the way I wanted them to, and I was always afraid I'd catch a strap in there and it would tear this up when I took the strap out, where the tape just comes right out. But anyway, that's a whole nother, there are videos of doing it with straps that are, so I don't claim to have invented anything, but I do claim to just pass it on to all your friends, and maybe this will save you a lot of scratching, and boy, I think of what the cost of a set of Marchesini wheels, probably $2,500. And I think of how many guys I've seen that have beautiful gold wheels or silver wheels, and a big gouge from a tire iron on it. So I'm more concerned with not scratching the wheels. Now another thing, and this is always the way it is. I know they sell stuff for mounting tires that's relatively cheap, maybe expensive relatively to Dawn. But you know what? I've always used Dawn, and Dawn seems to work just fine. I don't know. When you're done, your hands are really nice and clean with that Dawn stuff. Anyway, Glenn had cleaned up the whole carrier in the back. And it's a funny story attached to this. He was looking he thought he lost 2 bolts. And it really turns out there were only 4 bolts to begin with. And it's a whole nother story. But I'll let Glenn put that on the internet someday. Okay, so here we are. And this, again, I put the air in the back tire. I had already shot the video that you'll see at the end of the video where I actually did it. And I put it out in the sun, and I put air in the tires, and I started monitoring the air pressure. And it didn't change at all, the same way. I did the water test around the bead. I don't know why. Around the valve. Everything seemed as good as can be. Now, the way we're really going to put this to the test is Thursday, in other words, tomorrow, or the next day, I think it is, Glenn is going to leave on a multiple 1,000-mile drive up to Montreal the back way, and he's going to come back through Alaska or whatever he's going to do. I don't know, whatever. But when he comes back, we may have to mount new tires. But now the other thing, too, is Chuck had bought a tool that cost about $150. And he brought it over for us to test. And after I did it this way, there's no point even testing it. This works so good. And anybody has a dirt bike tire, they'd like me to change the tire, I'll gladly do it for free, as long as we can videotape it and share it with our friends. And I was giving Glenn a little bit of a heads up on how to balance a wheel. In this case, they were so close. Now, Luciano would not have even balanced them, but I did, and they were really close. Anyway, and so what we did, another thing, we balanced the wheel without the discs on, and Glenn said, oh no, it's going to change. So I said, okay, let's try it. He mounted up the discs exactly the same. So I don't know, there's no point making a political statement here. The idea is to find something that works for our friends that ride motorcycles. It may save them the chips in the paint, may save them a few bucks. Or maybe you just save the time. I mean, a lot of times when you take your bike to a dealer, they keep the bike, and it's a nice sunny day. So I don't think anything that we're showing here a person can't do in their own backyard. Now, I know what you're saying. How do you get the old tire off? Well, in the past, what I had done, I have a Dremel tool with a bit. And it's not a special bit, it's just an ordinary cutter. And I had just gone from the rim here, cut around. It leaves the last, I put a little piece of nylon in there so if I slip I don't hit the rim. And the last little bit I have to cut with a parting wheel. But again, I bet it doesn't take 2 minutes to cut the tire. Now, other people have told me, I got a lot of emails about this, oh, you'll never be able to get the old tire off. Well, I had taken the tire in the past, and Tim knows I do this. And I just took the big, the chain cutter and go, and then do the last little bit. There's always a steel cord around the perimeter for the safety of the tire so it doesn't jump off the wheel while you're riding, I guess. And it helps seal. But again, I'm still looking for a reason not to do this. Now, and again, look in a few days, as soon as I do the GS tire is next, unless somebody brings me over a tire and wheel to experiment on, and I'll do it for free. Here's the big issue. Here's the whole issue. To get this tire off, I want to be able to take this tire off with no tools. No tools at all. That's the goal. May not reach it. May have to do whatever. But I know in the past I can break the bead with my feet. And I know I can put some Dawn around the perimeter and even with a paintbrush get some Dawn in there. And I'm thinking, well, we'll see. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. I have a thought that might work. And if it doesn't work, you'll see me pinch my finger off or something. So anyway, here we go back to Glenn's bike, which he's getting ready to leave for Canada, so we wanted to get this on video before he leaves. Maybe he won't come back. Maybe he'll stay in Canada. They'll confiscate the bike. But we wanted to get this out there anyway. Anyway, he's real happy with the gold wheels. I think they're spectacular. They match my Suzuki wheels, which always seem to be, wherever we've gone, people come and look at it, and they're jumping and jiggling about it. It really isn't a difficult thing to do the wheels. The preparation, which Chris and Lauren, and they did hours of preparation. Yeah, the preparation is 5 times more than the paint. Now, we also had to put the whole bike back together, the front end, the calipers. We cleaned the pads. I wanted to look and see how this was going to look from several angles. See, as the sun hits this, it changes color from bright, dark, gold, and that's what a real gold paint will do. Of course, you can buy the real inexpensive paint. I mixed this paint myself with my own flake and everything. It's called micro flake, and it's commercially available. But now look, see, what I like is you can even see the part of the wheel in here that's gold, out here, and then we needed a break, and it was really hot out there. So of course, Karen, my lovely wife, she came out and she made us 2 homemade pizzas with, oh, I can't even tell you how good these were. Glenn almost jumped on my pizza pie here. And anybody that's been to my house knows Karen is always very hospitable, always willing to entertain, always willing to make a cup of coffee or whatever, or pizza or whatever we do here. But now, Joe's wife gave us all a lesson in how to make fresh mutts. Well, we're using it every day here in the shop. A lesson and something to share with people is a wonderful thing. Now, wonderful thing, look at these wheels. To me, they're just spectacular. I don't even know how to explain this. So we got to this point and mounting everything up, and now there is one trick. In mounting the calipers back, once the front end is in and getting these calipers back on, you really have to spread them as far as the pistons will go into the caliper, because I didn't want to even touch the gold paint. I want those things not to have a scratch on them. And it's just, I don't know, you know, just my personal little thing. But it's always good working with Glenn. We always seem to have a good time together, and a lot of fun no matter what we do. He's just as willing to roll around in the grease as I am, and he's almost 20 years younger, so guess who wins that battle all the time? Guess who runs out of gas first? Anyway, and now that he's doing track days and we're going to do these track bikes over the winter, I'm just really, really excited about having some cool equipment. Because for me, a lot of the enjoyment of motorcycling is just having an ultra clean, whistle free, a little bit different than stock that makes you stop and look at it, but certainly not a, you know, something off the chart. Just something a little bit different. Now, what we did, and this was funny, I wanted to get this out in the sun, and I wanted to shoot pictures from a lot of different angles, because gold paint will change as the sun changes, as the angle changes. There'll be angles where it looks real good. There'll be angles where it doesn't look so good, and I wanted to get plenty of pictures from both sides, from both angles. Again, I love shooting pictures. And all winter, now see, this is one angle, what I was saying. Now, we're going to hopefully be able to make carbon fiber mufflers for this over the winter. Or make a cover for this, which I have a couple of other ideas. But what's going to be nice about this is when you ride behind the bike, you're going to see this, and it's going to change like a diamond ring. It's going to constantly be sparkling back there. This area here. And I noticed on Joe's Brutale, when I've ridden on certain angles behind him, that wheel looks like it's like $1 million diamond sparkling in the sun. Oh, I expect this will be similar. I expect this would even be more spectacular on a bike with a single side swing arm, but I don't think it really matters. I think it'd work on everything. Now these, from every angle that you can look at this, it just looked better and better. Now this angle here especially, the sun is hitting it just right that we're seeing the edge of the rims. And one of the things we're going to do next, and when Glenn gets back from Canada, this is red anodized, and a lot of guys have this. I thought it would, well, Glenn thought it would be cool too, is make that the same color gold. Now, I've done side covers of engines with this paint, and it's held up fine. I've done Tim's RD. All the side covers are done with this paint. So I'm thinking, the only thing that looks like it's a little, you know, this red doesn't match anything, number one. And I think this would be cool as hell to have this gold. But, again, all in the eye of the beholder. And now, Glenn, of course, always being fun to work with, fun to hang out with, fun to ride with, whatever. He's just a fun guy. And this is so funny. I've never seen anybody happier. I wasn't this happy the day I bought my R1 and went out and did a big wheelie in front of the parking lot. I don't know why that just was unbelievable. He was really happy. We took the pictures, and what I want him to do is, and he'll probably do it, is take one of these pictures and make a little 4x6 for me that I can hang in the shop. Just as we're, now see this angle, you see the flat side, and you see where the sun is hitting it here. Just really nice. Now, and of course, when we're done, as Jose so correctly says, the Taj, we put the rug back. This is the Taj rug. My neighbors across the street were having a garage sale, sold me this rug for 10 bucks. It's as plush, it's almost a brand new rug. So we leave it in there when we're not working on bikes, and then we put these cheesy rugs, these Home Depot rugs, under the bikes when we work on it. And you may laugh at this. You may think, oh yeah, that's funny, ha ha, he's got rugs in his shop. Come winter time, we'll see how comfortable that is. I know I've been real comfortable with it. And I said to Glenn, we really need to shoot a couple more pictures because I really want to get one of these for the shop. The sun was starting to set, the day was coming to an end, and we finally put the bike away. And as all good days that end, this was a special day for all of us. And I couldn't wait to run down and send some pictures and send this little video that's going to be on the end of this out. In fact, it'll be the next thing. We put the bike away, and I told Glenn, I said, the next thing we're going to do is make a video on pulling the tire off. The only reason, and we'll do it today if somebody has a tire to mount. Bring a tire and a rim, and I'll do it right here. But anyway, this absolutely was something I think everybody that owns a motorcycle and does not want to have chipped up wheels, and if you like chipped up wheels, that's cool too. But I know I don't like the chips in the wheels, and I have looked at some real high-end bikes, even on track day, these $30,000 and $40,000 bikes, and you look down with it, and you have to change your tires more often the harder you ride. So after you change your tires 3 or 4 times, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, this is how the day ended, and it was a spectacular day. And there is no Photoshop on this. None whatsoever. Now, just another little thing I want to tell is Chris recently found me a copy of the 1976 magazine that I was on the cover on. And there actually are 3 magazines from that era. I only have the first one. But what we did, Glenn graciously got me the magazine. I'm going to, with the help of my friend John Pothier, who's given me some ideas, try to copy it so I can share it with everybody. It's got some nice nostalgic story in there. But the big point is that I really wanted to make is when a bunch of people get together as friends and help each other, boy, it just works out great. And I'm thankful for all the friends I've had in my whole lifetime, all the people that have shared stuff with me, the Kenny Augustines, the Big Jim Greenaways, the you name it, and I'm only hoping that I can give some of this back in a way that makes sense to everybody, and in a way that'll help you enjoy motorcycling as much as I do. Ride safe. Check this out for the last time, and we're going to have supper. Okay, this is a little video. We're doing a little experiment to see if we can change tires here without a tire machine. I put some soap along the edge and some Gorilla Tape along here. I want to line up the light spot with the valve. This is the rear tire. We've already done the front one, so let me line this up, and there you go. Yes! Yes! Now, it may look real emotional there. I'll play it one more time because a lot of people think this is Photoshop. It's not. I don't even know how to do Photoshop. Okay, this is a little video where this really works. This was great. You can change tires here without a tire machine. I put some soap along the edge and some Gorilla Tape along here. I want to line up the light spot with the valve. This is the rear tire. We've already done the front one, so let me line this up. And there you go. Yes! Yes!